decided to delay the start of the roundtable a few moments just to make sure that NMRAx was running late so that we could resume business as usual and continue not running on time. So the panel tonight is assembled before us, a great group of guys. We've got Randy Hamill, they're our New Haven Railroad expert with the layout in the background, which is fantastic. We're also joined by Andrew Porter from Connecticut again this evening. We were joined by Andrew earlier, if you were watching the stream before the stream decided to die a little while ago, and we were talking about a few different topics just while we were trying to rectify the stream issues. But Andrew is back for the roundtable. And we're also joined by the president and CEO of the Cowcatcher Division, Division 1 of the Lone Star region, Chair Supremo and Maestro of the convention in Dallas-Fort Worth in 2023.
Keep it coming.
Yeah. And 3D printing salesman extraordinaire, Mr. Mike Mackey, Master Model Railroader, is joining us from Texas. So great chat tonight. We've had some great clinics already. Just had a great clinic there from Tim on car ferry operations. That was fantastic. A great, very knowledgeable guy. And we've had some great clinics so far. This is day 3. It already feels like a national convention. I didn't think this was going to feel like a national convention. I felt like it was going to feel like a total drain, but the comments and interactions, starting to see people, repeat people coming back each day that are taking time out of their schedules to take part. So I really appreciate that. Really appreciate the comments and feedback, and thanks to myself and the team. So tonight's topic is locomotives and rolling stock, deliberately broad. Same format as before. I have some pre-prepared questions for the guys. The guys have seen these questions beforehand. And then we're going to go over to Facebook, to the Facebook group where you guys have been posting. You've got probably about 5-10 minutes to share your locomotives or rolling stock onto the Facebook group. And then if we've got time at the end, we'll take questions to the panel from yourself, and Brad in Australia is going to be getting those questions and converting them so that the text is not upside down, so that we can understand them. Okay, so that's how it's all going to work tonight. Last night we mentioned sandpaper and abusing baseballs and cricket balls. Tonight we're going to try to stay away from sandpaper, just because Brad's controlling who's muted. So that's why. Okay, so. All joking apart, our first question for the panel, and we're going to go Randy, Andy, and then Mike. That's a bit cool, like Randy, Andy. But anyway, we'll go Randy, Andy, Mike. And the question 1 is steam or diesel?
Steam or diesel? I'd say both. The transition era, I think, is still very popular, specifically because of the opportunity to model both, depending on what you're modeling and all. You've got a lot of opportunities in my case, modeling the New Haven. I'm modeling a period from 1946 to 54, which is the same period when they completely dieselized in this particular section of the railroad. So I would actually have to go back to 1945 to be all steam. By 46, you're starting to see S1s come in on some of the local freights. And then each year after that, there's more diesels until you finally get to a point where you go through a couple generations of diesels too, up to RDCs and RS3s. So I love doing both. My initial plan was not to do steam because I couldn't afford to do New Haven steam because it's pretty much all brass. But with eBay and things cropping up here and there, it's like, well, this one doesn't look too bad. And it starts to grow after a while. So I've got pretty much all the steam that I would need at this point.
Let's go, Andy.
So I'm kind of a yes to that question. It's a yes answer. As I kind of talked about before, I do a little bit of mix of both. Narrow gauge, I don't have any any diesels. I don't really plan on getting any. I'm a narrow gauge modeler and a standard gauge modeler, and I'm modeling 2 completely separate parts of the country. And steam, of course, I'm a B&M modeler, so steam is important to me. I'm fortunate as a B&M modeler that I have brass locomotives. If I was a strictly main central modeler, I have nothing. So, yeah, it's a little rough. Yeah.
Cool. And Mike?
I worked with a young lady who went shopping a lot, and her motto was one of each. She didn't like to make decisions, so I'm gonna chime in with the same guys here. That I don't see any reason why you can't have both if that's what you enjoy doing. It I would say this: be true to a time frame. I have seen a lot of model railroaders get lost and economically lost, okay, by wanting to have one of each, okay, and that there is a pitfall there. But you don't have to have either diesel or steam and make a selection if that's what you want to do. The transition era is a lot of interesting opportunities there. When I first started modeling, I am a former 1-to-1 scale railroader and worked for the Cotton Belt in the Southern Pacific. And so I modeled the time frame when I worked because it was easy for me to call on that from a scenery, a weathering standpoint, all that kind of stuff. I have now transitioned a little bit back to the transition era. And so now I've got some diesel and some steam on there. Yeah. You like that? The little pun there?
I thought you would have transitioned forward to the transition era. Or was it not?
Easy, buddy. Easy, buddy. Okay. I was born at night. It just wasn't last night. Okay.
One other thing to mention, since it seems like we're all in the transition era, if you are modeling more modern eras and you do want to do steam, there's still opportunities to do that. If you want to stay more prototypical, you can do, there's the things running out on the UP in Norfolk and Western. There's other tourist lines and things of that nature. So you don't necessarily have to stick with the transition era if you want to do both. But there are, maybe fewer opportunities. But if you're freelancing or building your own thing, then you can come up with pretty much any good reason why you would have some of both.
No problem. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I was the point I was just going to make as my point is that I like steam and diesel. I think the challenge is that there is less steam locomotives that are accurate being produced. Manufacturers are going for very prototypical diesels. A lot of the people at the moment, the second generation diesels, not necessarily the modern ones, but there are a lot of modern, right up to date models coming out recently. I think you've got to pick your era. What I like to model is Wisconsin and modern era Wisconsin, CN in Wisconsin, ex-Wisconsin Central, ex-Sioux Line. You have, the reason I model that is because you have the latest Tier 4 GEVOs running on the CN, but you've also got an absolute splattering of SD, all sorts, SD40s, SD60s, SD70s, SD everything. So running through, you've got free power on that line and stuff like that. But I also model the Wisconsin Southern, and and even very recently, not necessarily in 2020, they've allowed steam excursions to run over their mainline trackage. So there are opportunities there. I would just say it's you can do anything you want. It's your railroad, ultimately, number one. But number two, if you want to be a prototypical railroad, then you've got to have a reason for what's on your layout to be there. So,
and of course to sum that up, if you've got enough money, get them all. It's okay.
We don't all live in Texas.
eBay is dangerous.
Yes,
I've got that oil well in my backyard pumping right now, Gordy. Okay.
I'll have to add another title to your introduction.
There you go.
Okay. Right. So the next question then to the team, and anyone can pick this up, raise your hands, pick it up, is what do you think is the most important improvement or check everyone should do to ensure the smooth running of their locomotives and rolling stock? Andy?
Wheel set gauge. I cannot tell you the number of times I have pulled a piece of rolling stock or a locomotive out of the box and had an out of gauge wheel set. Even brand new RTR stuff, just a little bit can cause innumerable problems, from derailing when you go through a frog, and that kind of that NMRA gauge is probably your most useful tool. It's probably something I should have mentioned last night, but your NMRA gauge is probably the most useful tool when it comes to your locomotives and rolling stock. You need to check everything. It'll seem insane doing it over and over again, but I'm the type of guy who will go and I go to a train show, I pick up a brand new inbox Proto 2000 SD 7 or 9 in chassis system because of cats, and I take it home and I completely take it apart, all the way down to the wheel sets and individual component pieces, and I check the wheel gauge on each wheel, and I remove all that peanut butter off the gears and go build it back from the beginning. So.
And Andy, where exactly does somebody get one of these wheel gauges?
The NMRA website. This NMRA company store is a good place to look. If you have a local hobby shop, every local hobby shop that I've ever walked into has had one at least NMRA gauge, and I own 3 because I keep losing them. So I end up just buying another one because I get tired of looking for it, and then I find it, so then I have another one, and then I lose 2, and now I go buy another one, and I have 3. So, yeah.
Well, I'm Model N scale. It's easy to lose them.
Yes, yes, it is. I have one of those. It's tiny.
Yes. Okay, who wants to take that question next?
Randy.
Randy, we'll go to Randy, and then we'll go to Mike.
Yep, I'm much more of a put it on the track and fix problems that occur rather than checking everything right now. But I'm also typically involved in a lot of different projects. So lately, I've got about an extra year before the next New England prototype meet, which I usually have my layout open for tours and op sessions. I'm working on doing a lot of work to get it ready for those op sessions, and the extra year has given me time to say, okay, I'm going to take care of all the locomotives, and I've started to super detail them as well as putting in decoders and all that sort of stuff. So now that I'm doing the decoders, I'm actually doing the same sort of stuff, is that when possible, I'm disassembling the whole thing and completely rewiring it. I'm wiring direct to the circuit board so that there's no intermediate circuit board, there's no splices inside if I can avoid it, to keep it as clean and easy as possible, because then there's just fewer points of failure. But then other times I get lazy and I'll just do whatever I have to get it up and running. So it kind of depends on the mood. But yeah, I think it's, once you've been working with your layout a long time, and I guess in my case, I did the same sort of thing, but with the track. My track has been in place, although it hasn't all been attached because since I use microengineering, it can hold its shape and stuff. So we've done lots and lots of testing and operating sessions as is and tweaked things as we find them, whether it's track, wheel sets, locomotive problems, and so on. So I think it depends a little bit on your personality and all, but there's so many things to work on. And I've just started saying, you know what, instead of fighting my kind of inner nature, I'll pick up something and work on it. And then when something else grabs my attention, I'll work on that. They'll all get done eventually. So I'm slowly working my way through the locomotives, and eventually I'll get the wheel sets on the freight cars. So
cool. And Mike?
I find that both of you guys touched on something that I have found through trial and error is very important, and that's track. Now, I realize we're talking about locomotives and rolling stock here, but if your track's not right, it's not going to stay on there either. Okay, so I think the two are meshed together. And while Andy is talking about doing the gauges, which the wheel gauge, which is absolutely fundamental for rolling stock as well as locomotives and power equipment, your track has got to be right. If you've got gaps in the rail, if you've got frogs that aren't right, if you've got points that aren't nestled into the side rails right, whenever you throw a turnout, all of those things are going to count for derailments. And to me, one of the biggest things that causes people to leave this hobby is ill rolling or ill operating equipment that they can't have fun with because it's constantly giving them problems. And if you can fundamentally get down to good track, good wheel sets, good locomotives, and this is one more thing here. Give me just a little bit of latitude here, Gordy. But the cheap locomotives, stay away from cheap nasty, old, secondhand locomotives unless you're going to put them in a roundhouse in a scene and set them on a backtrack somewhere. Okay, go ahead, spend a little bit more money in scale, get you a good Kato locomotive or one of the same type brands. Go ahead and spend a little bit money and get a Genesis, an Athearn Genesis, or a Proto 2000 locomotive, and or Broadway Limited or whatever the thing is. But the cheap ones that you can get at literally the dime store, stay away from it. Save your money. Don't go down that path. And that's just a good fundamental for me. So.
Okay, so the only final thought from me on that didn't really get touched on is couplings. And so there are many different types of couplings around the world. Let's just focus on North American types for now. So the good old knuckle coupling. And I think the one most important thing you can do to make your locomotive and rolling stock run better is to have conformity. And so coupler height is one issue, but let's just look at the KD couplers for a minute. And I'm not picking on KD, it's just the most popular brand. KD has multiple different sizes of knuckle size.
Yep.
And you need to make sure that if you're running scales, which I think is 158s in HO, I'm an N scaler, so I may have got that wrong.
That's right.
Then it's got to be, they've all got to be 158s. And if you're running number 5s, they should all be number 5s because that will ensure smooth, issue-free operation. And as Mike was trying to indicate, coupler height gauge is after wheel gauge, coupler height gauge. These are tools that everybody should have. And another tool that's really good from KD is the trip pin bending tool. Really, really important because just today I was testing out the layout that we've just laid the track on my new layout, first deck of my layout, and I ran a loco on that layout that I won't be running. It was a Scale Trains Gevo, and the air hose caught on part of the rail as it went around a corner. Now, I don't have an issue because that Gevo will never run on that part of my layout because it's part of the switching part of my layout that's run by the Wisconsin Southern, and currently CN doesn't lease them Gevos to play with, so it won't run around that very tight radius that I tried to run it around. So rule 1, read the manufacturer's recommended radiuses. Rule 2, check conformity and make sure everything is all running on the same stuff.
Yeah, I prefer the,
we'll go to
the trip pin clip pliers because I just cut them off.
Gandry.
So I'd like to, first I want to tell you about the Church of Sergeant Couplers. And
They're awesome.
Oh, no.
And I told all to Dale Kritsky.
Yeah, no, I know Dale. Dale and my wife actually went to high school together, so I know Dale, and this is his fault that I switched it. So I would just wanted to circle back to what Mike was talking about with the track, and you can actually get away with 2 out of 3 of those wheels, locomotives, and track. You can have absolutely the worst track in the world, but you have to go really slowly. And if you've seen Dale's layout,
yes,
the track is terrible, but it's amazing at the same time. It's beautiful. It's just if you go over 5 miles an hour on that railroad, 5 scale miles an hour, you're on the ground.
Yep.
No doubt about it. But I absolutely love Sergeant Couplers, and that's one of the. I mean, I guess that's kind of a good lead-in right into the next question there, right? The accurate modeling of the prototype.
It was a great segue. I give you points for that. But Mike was just holding up the famous trip pin bender, which is great. Bends in multiple scales. And good for curling your eyelashes there, Mike, as well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that does a good lead into the next question. Next question is, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to make their models more accurately reflect a given prototype? Andy, we'll go to you because you'd already started this.
Yeah, so there's the right couplers for your model. That's important. Not have it. If you go to Sargent's, there are different couplers available, and there's a Facebook group for that. The other very important thing is photos. If at all possible, find photos of the prototype you're modeling. And I'm just going to quickly so there's good books out there. And by the way, Gordy, you should see if you can get him to do a clinic. or 3.
Volume 1.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the guy's name. Ted Collada.
Okay, Ted Collada.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, that's volume 1. That's not the clinic. So photos of the freight cars in the time period you modeled, but, and I'll go ahead and just give a little push for the NMRA store again.
Yeah.
He wrote this book along with Larry Klein, but there's photos in this book of freight cars, in the post-war time period. These are all taken in one location over a span of a year or so. So you kind of get another thing there, and then finding out what if you can get a hold of the NMRA and get them to get you a copy of the official railway equipment register. I've got one from 1943, but you can open it up and find out, the dimensions of a car. That's in here. It gives you the car dimensions. It gives you the car numbers. It gives you the reporting marks. It gives you, a basic description, a kind of a basic description of the car. So you can go and look at that model and go, well, did that exist, on the shelf? And that's another thing to look at it too, is the reporting marks and the build dates and the rebuild dates that are stamped on the side of the car. Mm-hmm. These are all things that you can look at. And then the final thing I'll say, and I'll probably stealing somebody's thunder here, but if you're modeling an Eastern Railroad in the transition era, you're a Pennsylvania Railroad modeler. I'm sorry to tell you that.
Yep. Yeah, I think research is the big thing. Photos was going to be my number one answer there. And my copy of the post-war freight car fleet, I've got Post-it notes on pretty much every picture telling me which models represent those cars that are available, whether they're resin kits or even kit bash things, just so that it gives me some idea, because that's right in the middle of my modeling era as well. So that 1947 fleet is fantastic. And Ted, he's the owner of Speedwitch Media, is the name of his company, and he's got a series of books available, as well as the Railway Prototype Cyclopedias. Yep, those are some of his Railway Prototype Cyclopedias.
And Andy, he's going to be paying you commission, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. No, well, Ted is from this area as well, so we know him well. But photographs are kind of the key to, I think, anything else. If you can get out and you can actually go see prototype cars, even if they're not the same exact car, to look at some of the details and understand a little bit about how they're constructed. In addition to the other things that he mentioned, car builder cyclopedias, you can find them online for 1922 and earlier. Otherwise, you can also find the old train shed cyclopedias that were made from copies of those, and those you can get pretty cheap, which are pages from those. And those kind of have the plans and stuff. Of course, old model railroaders, RMCs, all of the magazines. Mainline Modeler was well known for publishing plans and learning how to use those plans. Ted Collada actually did an awesome clinic where he would take a plan and print it out in HO scale. And if you wanted to scratch build that, you can do it using clear styrene. So you can do it right on top of the plan itself. Some real neat approaches that way. But to me, it's also a matter of, you kind of have to feel out and figure out what your level of, to me, it's accuracy and fidelity are. Accuracy is whether the parts on the car are correct. So does it have the right, if it's a box car, say, does it have the right ends, the right roof, the right doors, that sort of thing. If it's a single sheath car, is the bracing the correct pattern and direction. Fidelity would be more things like how fine the detail is. Is it separately applied parts versus molded on parts? And I got back in the hobby, well, now it's been about a decade, I guess, a little longer. But at that point, I didn't really have anything usable from my childhood days. So I made the decision that everything was going to have separately applied parts. So I was only purchasing things that had those. And there's enough to go through, and then look at resin kits and that sort of thing. So it's really just a matter of kind of educating yourself about a little bit about car construction and what these different ends are. There's a lot of modeler names as well as the prototypical names. And I'm the one of those types that likes to know what they were actually called and prefer to use those terms. But the reality is it's just a matter of communicating between modelers and figuring out, okay, what do I need for this car if I want to model this, and finding those details, and then just experimenting and working on your skills. A lot of my projects are not completed the first time around because I get to a point where I don't know how I'm going to go further. And then I set it aside and work on something else. And eventually I'll go, oh, I know how to do that. Or I'll develop a skill or find a part, and then I'll get back to that project later on. So I think you got to be willing to experiment and learn some skills as you go.
Okay, thanks, Ronnie. Mike, 30 seconds, because then we're going to have to go to Facebook. Do you got anything to add to that question?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm modeling, one of the big things for locomotives, prototypical handrail size. A lot of times the ones that are molded or that come with the kit are way out of scale.
Mm-hmm.
And to tack on one final thing to what Randy's saying, I'm going to tell you guys that if you're not participating in the achievement program, you're missing out, because the achievement program will make you a mammothly better, if that's the right word, modeler. It's going to let you learn skills and do things. To Randy's point, I didn't know how to do that. Now I do, and go back and finish it using different things like that. We're doing a clinic in our division that we're teaching people how to scratch build flat cars. So it comes right back to what Randy's talking about. The under the piping, the queen posts, the center sills, all of the things, and what those pieces mean and how they do it, and it's helping them achieve their cars for the AP program. So get involved.
So that's great, guys. So that wraps up the questions. I just had some final points to put on there. I feel like I'm shaking my finger at you all now. Sorry about that. And that was that it's great to talk about photographs and stuff like that. But if you were coming from my perspective, because I have done my CARS AP certificate, I was like, that's great. I can do technical drawing and I can read a technical drawing, but how do I actually build this thing? So there are some great resources here. This is one from Model Railroad. Okay, it's a bit old. You can still pick these up on eBay. You'll see them around and in various places. If you go on Amazon, secondhand books sellers on Amazon sell these. This was printed quite a while ago. These are great because they actually have tips and tricks and show you the old ways of doing things. You generally have a photograph and you also have the drawing, so you can compare one to the other. So really good tools. The other thing I would say is that there are some kits around there and out there that you can do. Now, back in the day, we didn't really have ready to run. When we said ready to run, it was an Athearn blue box or a roundhouse box, and you had to do some of the construction yourself. And you had molded on, but you had molded on detail parts and stuff like that. Now, here's two examples I just grabbed from a pile of stuff that I'm actually sending to Jordan Cosmo Kramer in Ohio Path, and this one isn't going. So this is going spare in Orkney if anyone needs it in Orkney. But here's a kit that Central Valley do, more famously known for their bridges. But this is a kit with Northern Pacific flat car. You have a photograph of it there. What's really cool about this kit is it's buy one, get one free, because there's two flat cars in there. So you can screw one up and you've still got a spare, which is really useful for AP. And then Tichy Group do kits still as well. Now, the key thing with the Tichy Group is this is just advertised as a 40-foot, 50-ton flat car. It's not necessarily specifically to any particular prototype. So it probably is to a specific prototype or just a close enough. And so you would need to modify this to be matching your prototype. But of course, if you do an AP, modifications and details mean points mean prizes. So all really good thing to do. Same with this MP flat car. One of the things you can do with this is all molded in plastic, including the deck. It wouldn't be too difficult to replace that with a wooden deck that you've made yourself, either from scribed sheet wood material, or actually individual board by board. Board by board, more work, more points. So that was the end of that. I just wanted to bring that back there for everybody.
Gordy,
yes.
You were referring to a Amazon? I don't know. We don't have that over here in Texas. We have Amazon. Okay,
Amazon.
I'm not sure what you got. I don't know what you have. But yeah, thank you.
For things like learning how to scratch build freight cars and all, Mainline Modeler was a magazine that had loads of information and projects on building freight cars, scratch building them, and the entire collection's available on DVD from the CNO Historical Society.
Yeah, and I also know that I don't know what the name of the magazine is, but I know if you go to trainlife.com,
Yep.
which is the store for Exact Rail, they do have some old 1909 something from the last century of PDFs that are available to people for free download of different magazines, which will have drawings and all this kind of good techniques. Because the techniques are not really. There are articles. If you get the NMRA, if you become an NMRA member and you take the NMRA magazine, there's lots of articles with these kind of skills in. But other than really railroad model craftsmen, these skills have started not to be published as much as they were in the past. Certainly not in the detail of the articles that were there in the past. So use some old resources. The stuff doesn't get old. But let's go to Facebook. Again, I apologize that you're seeing my own personal Facebook here, so you'll be seeing a few different things. So my post today was Locomotives and Rolling Stock. First one up here. Hopefully this isn't going to go too slow. Why is this maybe painful? Our first post here was from Pam. And Pam provided a photograph of her favorite locomotive on her father's layout. It's a HO scale L&N K5. It was crafted from an AHM Pacific, so it's been modified. And there's some custom work being done there to make that a more realistic model from something that was partway there. So kind of ties nicely to what we were just talking about.
It's beautiful.
It's a great looking model.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
I don't know how long ago that's been done, but that's there. Mark there posted a link. We're not going to go to his website there because it will kill my computer. But how to improve a roundhouse kit, that'll be good. Andy posted this. I didn't know that German ice trains ran on the Northeast Corridor, but maybe Randy does.
I'm not sure I've seen one, but they very well could have. That's past my modeling era, so it's well past my expertise.
That would be interesting. I suppose that would be pre-Alicia or Alicia, or however the heck you say that in Texas. Acela, whatever it is, Alicia, Acela, whatever, I can't say it. And then another one from Andy. Listen, guys, the caption thing for Facebook, when you say Gordy, it comes up Courtney. So, like, names are not our strong point here at NMRAx. Just look at the pictures. It's fine. So this is F69 PHAC, which was used to haul the ice train on its tour. So Andy's doing 2 locomotives here. And it looks like that's converted from a model using 3D parts. Great. That's a big advantage of 3D printing now. Good looking model. Okay, one from Matt. So Matt's going to be looking at Matt's painting techniques. Matt's going to be doing a clinic on painting and weathering later in the week. But there's Tashendo SD24 that he's painted and lettered for his custom road. Looking good.
Crisp lettering, good detail on the decals too. How he's got them snuggled in there really well.
He makes his own decals as well, or decals if you're not in Texas.
I give up.
That's a GK E60CF. I have no idea what that is, but that was cool.
They didn't run those in Texas. I'm just telling you. Okay.
Well, that's this is the next one is a Afen Blue Box Jeep 9. This is looking better than most Afen Blue Box Jeep 9s I've seen. Looking good. Nice job. Nice job. Love that contrast paint. You'll have to look out for Matt's clinic on that later in the week. We'll skip one of Matt's just for time. We'll go to something that looks quite interesting. Oh, the good old label. This is a kit bashed label, motor car kit. O scale by the looks of things. Free rail there.
That's a tight radius curve right there, I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trolley layout, Mike. Some places outside of Texas are spatially challenged.
Definitely.
But there was the roof. Or the roof. And
Randy's going to get something. I saw him. He snuck away for a minute.
We'll be back in a second on that. This is great. Really good work there.
You know what? That could be close to Texas because I've got that same mill on my layout right there in the background.
Okay, Ken Mason. Happy accident with weathering. Yeah.
Ken is in New Orleans, and he's a Lone Star region guy. He's also the division director down there, and the Crescent Lines is their lines for their model railroad club in New Orleans. Crescent City, Crescent Lines. Now you understand.
That's cool. I like the weathering. It looks like that loco's been through the wars.
A lot of salt water in New Orleans, salt spray and stuff. Humidity, rust.
Yeah, come to Orkney, we'll tell you about the rust.
Boy,
so like Matt's improving. We're talking about improving older models. There's Matt's clinic tonight on Athen Blue Box and doing rebuilds and improvement on them. Definitely don't miss that. Mike Slater, who is a trolley modeler, has some of his.
It looks like he's got some derailment problems on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing an absence of rails there, but I'm seeing quite a lot of really good work. It's good stuff. It looks like we're seeing a load of trolleys. Interurban cars. This is quite the fleet, Mike.
Yeah.
Quite the fleet. Look at that. Very good. Lots of trolley modelers coming out today. I like
nice
these.
Work.
We'll skip over. We'll keep going. There's even more. And then not a trolley. This looks interesting. Interesting. To know where that came from. It looks quite old. Okay, and fellow modeler in Scotland. There are some of us. That's a Spectrum, Bachmann Spectrum 280 that's been modified. Remember, just because it's ready to run doesn't mean that you can't hack it to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So that's looking good. It's into a CM loco, oil fired. And I know what Patrick models. So we're gonna go to Sweden. So Patrick also models Sweden. So going to get to look at some European prototypes, and you'll see the buffers. Huge difference. It tells you that this is not North America. Buffers on the end of the rolling stock. You can see the very.
Educate me, Gordy. What's the purpose of that?
Okay, so the purpose of buffers is because they're the points of contact between pieces of rolling stock. Yes, you see the knuckle coupler there, but in Europe you don't have knuckle couplers. We have a chain or a screw link, which is two look like shackles with a screw between to tighten them up to put the rolling stock together. And the purpose of the buffers was as you go around corners, they actually are sprung, and they'll stop. They'll keep your
spacing right. Keeps your spacing right.
Yeah, and you with screw link couplings, you don't get any slack action, or very little slack action.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's different types of couplings in Europe. Some were changed after a lot of standardization in Europe occurred in World War I because of the fact that certain countries overran other countries, and certain countries such as the United Kingdom and America and Canada sent rolling stock to France. And so the French had to come up with a standard. The French standard before World War I was actually 2 hooks and chains, wing hooks and chains, and the center chain. So you had 3 chains on it on a piece of rolling stock, and that was just too much hassle. during World War One. You wanted to get things moved quick. You're under fire, so they dropped that. But you'd still see some locomotives running in the UK in preservation that have the French system. If you go to the Scottish Railway Museum at Bowness in Midlothian, you'll see it's not Midlothian, it's West Lothian. You'll see there's a locomotive there that's got that French system on it from World War One. But that's the purpose of those, Mike, is just to make sure that as you go around corners and as you put the rolling stock together, you have a spring in there, and obviously it prevents any damage to the contents of the car as well. So see some nice stuff there. Thank you for sharing, Patrick. Pam again. Now we're getting somewhere, Pam. RS3s. Excellent. So there's some more RS3s. Louisville, Nashville. Very nice. Keep going with these. Got quite a few today. It's becoming more popular, although I think a lot of this is Pam spamming us, but it's fine. Back to Steam from Pam again. And we're... there you go. Perry Simpson's layout. Great photograph. Lovely locomotives. Look at the weathering on that. Fantastic. And just, I think, guys, what do you think of this scene here? We've got all these locomotives. They're all weathered slightly a different way. Not everything, nothing there really looks the same. So, good work. Of course, as Mike will tell you, being a real railroader, no two locomotives look the same. Weather the same. This is cool. This is from David Hager. An N-scale locomotive. Looks like he's waiting for you to show him how to paint this one. So, very nice work. And more from Pam. Lots more from Pam. Cincinnati Union Terminal. Interesting. What's this? This looks like an NMRA car. Western Fun in 81. Wow. Where was this convention? San Mateo, California. And all the regions are there. Even the British region. Look at that. Above the sunshine. That's unusual. British and sunshine. It's not two words that generally go together. But yeah, great. Yeah. Great work. So we'll stop sharing. We're at 45 past the hour. Brad, if you want to come back into the studio, do we have questions from anyone for the panel?
Not really, but I'll run through a couple of things there. First off, there was a comment there that the German ICE and the Swiss X2 were tested on the Northeast Corridor. So that's some pretty cool information for you, Gordy.
Yeah, cool.
Brian made a comment there also that he is interested in doing his golden spike. So that's rolling stock and locomotives are part of that. That's pretty cool.
So let's hang on that for a second. So golden spike, yeah. So the golden spike's a great opportunity if your region does it and your division does it and you're able to show your stuff. It's a great introduction to the AP program because you don't have to merit on anything that you do. It's more about getting into the process of showing your models. And I think, and showing your models and talking about your models and getting feedback, that's the kind of entry level for Golden Spike. That's what it's all about. It was a program that was brought in with the help of a British region member, Steve Park, who's also a master model railroader, to help people get into the AP program without having to jump at doing a certificate first. It's great. I know a lot of people have done it. And yeah, you do display 3 pieces of rolling stock is my recollection. Mike, have I got that wrong?
That's correct. You got to display some rolling stock, just basically put your layout out there for people to be able to see. You should have some ballasted track. You have to have certain types of trackage, like a siding. There are some specifics there, but something that is normally done on just about every first layout So one thing I do want to caution you, if you achieve your MMR, you are no longer eligible to receive the golden spike. So always get your golden spike before you turn in your last certificate for your MMR.
Cool.
That's awesome.
A few other things that were on there. Pete Hall says, I used to hook up a chain on the Bluebell Railway with a long pole. You need to swing it just right to hook it up. So that's the different types of couplers around the world.
Yeah. You don't want to get these anywhere near a chain and a hook. Definitely not.
No,
So they used
I
to
don't
use
think it will.
a 6-foot pole to lift the hook on, which is very similar to what you'll see British people do on their layouts. So
exactly, I've seen a few of those over here. Maurice, this is for you, Gordy. Actually, those kits you showed. Maurice has asked, is there any kits like that in N scale that any of us know of?
N scale.
I'm not aware of any right offhand. I'm not big on the N scale world, but I don't know of a whole lot of kits in N scale.
When I was 11, I put together an N-scale boxcar kit. It was like a 36-foot boxcar, and I don't remember the name of the manufacturer. I'm sure it's around here somewhere.
So MTL, which is Microtrains, used to do N-scale kits.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, there are some available. North American, not so much. But if you want to have a go at building a kit and you want to go further afield, then there are two options that I can think of straight off the top of my head. One is there are kits on Shapeways for rolling stock in N scale. Two, so you can have a go at a 3D printed kit and add some details to it. The second thing is that if you go to British outline stuff and European outline stuff, there are thousands of rolling stock kits in N scale in British stuff. There's a society called the 2 Mill Society who are like Proto 87, Proto 48 in North American for N scale in the UK. They produce kits. They produce kits in brass. They produce kits in plastic, resin, even white metal kits in the UK in N scale. So it's a bit difficult. I know there's a lot, but Mike may know of one.
Well, one of the things that I mentioned previously, we're doing a scratch building seminar, and we're doing it in all scales. We've got modelers in N scale, HOS, HON3, O scale. And if you're out there and you want to do this, don't let the term scratch building scare you. Okay. But you can buy those parts and put your own car together pretty easy. And in N scale, you can get just the underframes from Microtrains.
Okay, there is an N scale kit manufacturer. I'm going to go to their website. I remembered what they were called. I should have known. I'm a bit of it's late. If you go to nscalekits.com, these kits were produced by Alan Curtis originally in the UK. He has a ton of different kits. N scale, mostly modern, but you've got well cars, double stack cars, ballast gondolas, heavy duty flat cars, well cars. There's some Boston and Maine stuff there. So he's doing some older stuff now. The Universal Railroad of the World, some Pensy stuff. So there's lots and lots of stuff there. Go to that website. It's nscalekits.com. There's some great kits there.
I do know there was a resin kit of a Canadian 8-hatch reefer as well in N scale. I don't remember the company that produced it though.
But I think that's the biggest selection of N scale kits that I've found, and I mean the problem with doing an N scale well car, I have a few of those kits, is just the sheer number of lettering that's on a well car is huge, and his kits provide, some of them provide the decals with the kit, and it's terrifying. It's N scale decals, decals.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
In the UK transfers,
there's a language barrier there, Gordy.
One
of the things I showed, one of the things that you on that slide, that image you brought up there of that website, was Trinity Industries cars. I just want to let you guys know that if you come to the 2023 convention in Dallas Fort Worth, we've got a tour set up for the Trinity Industries railcar plant, so that you can come and see how they're built firsthand. I'm still working on all the details, but my sister-in-law is the HR director for that plant. So,
and Mike, what are the dates for that convention?
August of 2023. We're still trying to get everything pinned down, and but I think it's the third weekend in August of 2023. So bring your personal air conditioner with you when you come to Texas. And actually, it's not going to be that bad, because the hotel and the convention center are joined together by a sky bridge. So once you get here, you're going to be steps away from an air-conditioned motor coach.
Enough.
Yeah.
Stop. Enough. Stop. Cutting you off. Brad, was there anything else on the stream?
That's pretty much it, Gordy.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for those that posted their photographs and stuff. Tomorrow, I've said it 1,000 times, but I'm going to say it one more time. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday of National Convention, and that means it's LD SIG Day. We'll have some great layouts, some great clinics on layout design and operations tomorrow. Roundtable tomorrow is on layout design and operations. Don't forget the operations part. Gordy is doing a clinic if he ever gets it finished, but certain problems keep getting in his way. But I am doing a clinic tomorrow on how I used track charts and track maps, some hand-drawn, some actual from the railroad, to design my railroad here in Orkney, which is based on the Wisconsin Southern over in the States. So really interesting. There's no excuse after you've seen my clinic not to model prototypically your favorite railroad, even if it's across an ocean. So thank you to the panel for tonight. A different panel will assemble tomorrow, same time, same place. Enjoy the rest of the clinics tonight, and we'll be back later.